Hi all, and welcome to our second lesson of the astrology study group. If you missed our first lesson, you can watch it on our YouTube channel. It was focused on a general introduction to what astrology is. And this time in our second lesson, we are focusing on the four elements and the three qualities. So we are starting this class with a quote from Samuel Thompson, which is saying all bodies are composed of four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. A good state of health consists in the correct balance and distribution of these four elements, and illness is their imbalance. So this is very important to always keep in mind that we have all the four elements in our birth chart and just mixed in a different way, and we have to compensate what we don't have, because the dominant elements reveal the energies which we are most in tune naturally and consciously, and the weak elements reveal what needs to be cultivated because they represent areas of experience in which the individual feels less comfortable. So all the bodies are composed of four elements. So the four elements are not merely symbols or abstract concepts. They refer to vital forces that shape the entirety of creation. So fire is associated to our spiritual body. It is related to vitality, energy, and creative force. Air is associated to our mental body, and it represents the abstract thought, ideas, and models of the universal mind, so like thought forms. Water is related to our emotional body, is associated to our emotional body, and it represents deep emotions, desires, reactions, vulnerabilities. And earth is associated to the physical body, and it represents structure, density, perceptions, and survival. So a balance and correct distribution of these four elements brings a person to be healthy, while imbalance of the elements lead a person to face disease and problems in his life. If we consider these elements as purely material factors, they can be associated with a four state of matter described by modern physics, like earth as a solid, water as a liquid, air as gases, and fire as radiant energy. But each element represents a fundamental type of energy and a state of consciousness that operates within each one of us. Since modern physics has demonstrated that energy is matter, these four elements intertwine and combine with one another, forming all matter and shaping the individual psyche. So it is not only about matter, but one is within the other. The human psyche, like external nature, is structured upon four primary states of energy, four forces, so represented by the four elements. These are four qualities of the same vital force, constituting the characteristics of all phenomena, both physical and psychic. In astrology, in Western astrology, when we speak of the four elements, we are not referring to the physical element itself, but to the fundamental elemental energy that underlies it. Each of these four principles possesses its own characteristics, qualities, and influence both the physical and psychic reality of people. It is important to emphasize that all four elements, along with their interactions, are necessary to create life in nature as well as in the human being. In the same way, the infinite variation and interactions between them shape our own character. The concept of the four elements is present in all cultures since long time in history, and the pre-Socratic Greeks they were searching for the fundamental principle of life, the arche, and the physis within the elements. In the Hindu tradition, we find deities such as Varuna, Vayu, and Agni. In some systems, such as that of the ancient China, the elements are not four, but five, represently a slightly different model, and always present. And in many native traditions, the idea of the four elements is central and forms the basis of the entire map of the universe and consciousness, as represented by the medicine wheel, for instance. And we also find an association between the four elements and the four bodies of the human being, as we saw before in the previous slide. So returning to the Western tradition, in Greek philosophy, Greek philosophy associates the elements with the four faculties of the human being. So fire is associated to the moral faculty, and the aesthetic and emotional faculty is then associated with water. The intellectual faculty is associated to air, and the physical faculty is associated to earth. During the Middle Ages, the theory of the elements became linked to the four humors, which in turn gave rise to the four human temperaments. Okay, here the fire is also seen as a, like in the psychological aspect, is expansive and therefore extroverted, but it is a dry element, and does not bend. It seeks instead to bend the world to its will, to impose itself upon it rather than receive from it. So it's more masculine, like kind of energy. For this reason, fire signs are often associated with leadership, self-sufficiency, and strong self-assertion. Air signs are considered warm and moist. Therefore, the element air is characterized by a more jovial tendency, and moisture represents flexibility, while heat represents expansion. And then earth, being dry and cold, maintains a tendency towards self-assertion in the world and the desire to shape circumstances according to its will. However, coldness also brings introspection and movement directed inward then. For this reason, the ancients associated earth with the melancholic temperament. So, air with the sanguine temperament, fire with the choleric temperament, and water with the phlegmatic temperament. Water, despite experiencing intense emotion, so how we see here in the slides, is and as we saw, before in the previous slides, it is associated to the emotional body, so the deep of our feelings. So despite experiencing intense emotions, this leaves them in an introspective way. They leave, I mean, it experiences this kind of emotion in an introspective way, and is inwardly oriented. Being moist, it has the capacity to adapt. It also has a sponge-like quality, absorbing environmental influences, often excessively, and so possesses it possesses fewer psychological defenses. So we will see in the future, in the next classes, how these elements are interacting with all the signs, with the houses, with the planets. So as we already mentioned, all four elements are present in every individual. Although each person is consciously more attuned to some forms of energy than others. Each element manifests in three vibratory modes: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So cardinal is when a season is starting. As we can see on the wheel here on the right side, Aries is the first sign where the wheel starts, and it is also the beginning of spring. So it's a cardinal mode. The fixed mode is in the middle of a season, and the mutable mode is at the end of a season. So we have four elements, each element in one of these three mode. And so then we have 12 zodiac signs. So by combining the four elements with the three modes, we obtain these 12 primary patterns of energy known as the zodiac signs. And the sign in which a planet is placed reveals the individual's attunement to that particular wave of energy or force. As we will see in the future when we'll explain the signs and everything, and the signs, the planets, and the houses. So fire is the principle of action and creativity. So we hear is an abundant energy that permeates everything. It symbolizes constant movement, the desire to live, joy, and the exaltation of existence. It is turbulent, ardent, and often explosive. The force of fire enables us to face life's challenges with courage and confidence, breaking free from inertia. Its influence vitalizes everything it touches. Some keywords we can read here are heat, vitality, intensity, action, resolution, also courage, impulsivity, aggressiveness, impatience, command, egocentrism, explosion, impetuosity, will, pride, competitiveness, brilliance, affirmation, independence. When there's an excess of this element in the birth chart, because as we will see in the future, each, and also as we can see in the previous slide, each sign, each house, and the relative planet, it is associated to one particular element. So, for instance, if we have so many planets in fire signs, there can be an egocentric tendency in the person, exaggerated self-assertion, reckless and passionate attitudes, irritability, aggression, and relational difficulties, domination and lack of empathy, restlessness and frenetic activity. When there's a lack of this fire, we will see that there are some way to understand if there is a really important lack of this element. We will see maybe that person will have like a strong Mars, or a Mars which is related to Sun. I mean, not linked. I mean, sorry, it's conjuncted to Sun. So that will compensate this lack. Anyway, when there is a lack of this element, there is low vitality and enthusiasm, lack of motivation and willpower, discouragement, low self-esteem and dependence on approval, on the people approval, inertia, lack of creativity. And then air is the principle of movement and thought, mental and communicative energy. It symbolizes the ability to think, to establish relationships, and to understand reality in its many dimensions: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. It represents intellectual and communicative development, and it influences, connects, and relates everything it touches. So some keywords are cooperation, interaction, connection, intelligence, communication, movement, rationality, exchange, sociability, instability, dispersion, curiosity, abstraction, speed, independence, and freedom. When there's an excess of this element in a birth chart, we could see in a person mental hyperactivity and restlessness, leading to confusion and dispersion. An anxious curiosity and constant mental processing may result in overthinking, and there is a risk of living entirely in the mind, losing contact with the body, emotion, and concrete reality. And the need for social interaction and expression of thoughts may become compulsive. And meditation can help to calm and direct this mental activity. When of this element, can see adapting to interacting, integrating differences, and potentially causing relational issues, resistant to new perspectives, may lead to feeling of exclusion and misunderstanding. There may be a lack of reflection and critical thinking, as well as limited communication skills. Expression may occur more through action, art, or practical means rather than words. Study, reading, dialogue, and group interaction can help strengthen this element. Water is the principle of nourishment and protection, a deeply sensitive and emotional energy. It symbolizes the depths of the psyche and the realm of emotions, granting access to inner worlds and memories. It represents a form of perception that cannot be grasped by the mind alone, but through deep feeling and empathy. Its influence, allows for a profound perception. Some keywords here we can see on the slide are sensitivity, intuition, feeling, introspection, inspiration, susceptibility, melancholy, adaptability, imagination, abstraction, perception, depth, receptivity, love, and vulnerability. When there's an excess of planets with this element, planets in a sign which is linked to this element, it can bring the excess can bring to immersion in one's emotional world with intense and fluctuating emotional states that may distort reality. Strong susceptibility to external influences and difficulty distinguishing between internal and external experiences. And a tendency toward victimhood may arise, along with fear amplified by uncontrolled imagination. And hypersensitivity may lead to withdrawal or escape from reality. So structure, discipline, creative of manual work, and contact with the earth can help them, these people with this excess to restore balance. When there's a lack of this element, a person can face this connection from one's emotional nature and difficulty accessing inner feelings. Limited empathy and understanding of others' emotional needs. And this may manifest as detachment, coldness, or excessive rationality, creating rational difficulties, and there may be a tendency to avoid emotionally charged situations. So they just skip it. And creative expression can support reconnection with emotional depth and authentic expression. Usually, we see in the aspect, we will see in the future, in the next lessons, how the good aspects are putting together some signs instead of others. For instance, water and earth are sorry, I didn't no I'm missing earth. There's the last one. I want to finish with the elements, and then I will explain something else. So we have earth is the principle of stability and consolidation, an energy of concreteness and preservation. It symbolizes the physical world, material perception through the five senses. So it is very linked to our senses also, not our emotions, but our physical senses. And the realm of what is tangible, measurable, and secure. It reflects the need to verify reality through direct experience, and its influence structures and grounds everything it touches. And some keywords are materiality, stability, consistency, perseverance, attachment, pragmatism, practicality, security, stubbornness, tenacity, productivity, organization, preservation, management, and patience. An excess of this element in a birth chart can bring a person to strong attachment to material and sensory reality, over involvement in productivity with difficulty relaxing, excessive pragmatism and inability to go beyond what is tangible, limiting the capacity to dream or pursue ideals, These may lead to narrow-mindedness and cynicism and disconnection from deeper meaning. Emotional detachment and excessive rationality may develop into rigidity, stubbornness, harshness, or even bitterness. Artistic or creative practices without a productive aim can help soften this rigidity. A lack of these elements can bring to disconnection from the material world and from the physical dimension of life, including practical needs and the relationship with the body. Disorganization and lack of practicality may lead to difficulty managing responsibilities. Plans and dreams may lack structure and realism. There may be instability and difficulty building a solid foundation in life. Discipline and regularity in daily routines are essential to restore balance and develop stability and consistency. So we can see from all these characteristics, when there is a lack of a certain element or when there is an excess of certain element, we can see that another element can bring balance to the person. So we will see in the future classes how the planets interact with each other and how they form some kinds of aspects that we can call sextile or trine or conjunction or oppositions. Trine are positive aspects, favorable aspects within the signs of the same elements. For instance, Earth signs are Taurus, which is a fixed sign, a fixed Earth sign, and then we have Virgo, which is a mutable sign at the end of summer. And then we have Capricorn. I want to show you the slide. Yeah, here. We have Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, which is cardinal. And they form a trine. So Taurus with Virgo is, we say in trine, is a good aspect. Same as, for instance, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Aries is the cardinal sign of fire. Leo is a fixed sign of fire. And Sagittarius, the mutable one. And same as Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. So they are in a good relationship and they are naturally drawn to be in balance with each other. And also the sextile, we will see the aspect sextile is between water signs and earth signs. So for instance, Pisces and Taurus, or Taurus and Cancer, Cancer and Virgo, Virgo and Scorpio, Scorpio and Capricorn, Capricorn and Pisces, and so on. And between air and fire. So Aries and Gemini, Gemini and Leo, Leo and Libra, because they all have elements that can balance the other element. Some other are less balanced, but this is something we are going to we're going to develop in the future classes. For today, we went through all these elements, and I want to give you one last exercise, one last slide with an exercise, because the dominant element is not simply the sun, but there's a hierarchy within our birth chart. So we can have a look at our birth chart and go to have a look at in which sign we have our sun, which sign we have our moon, and which ascendant we have our in which sign we have our ascendant. So which element is related to that sign will get 2 points for the sun, 2 points for the moon, and 2 points for the ascendant. Then Mars will get 1 point, Venus 1 point, Mercury 1 point. And these are all our personal planets. Jupiter is Jupiter and Saturn. They are. We will analyze the planets in the future, but for the moment, you just can have a look at which element dominate in your chart, looking at which sign is in which sign are these planets, and giving these points. So Jupiter and Saturn half point, and Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which are the generational planet, will have 0.33. And you will have an overview of what are your dominant element and what you're lacking in your birth chart. Thank you for watching this class. I will see you in the next class with the first 6 zodiac signs and the 3 zodiac zodiacal axes: Aries, Libra, Taurus, Scorpio, and Gemini, Sagittarius. Thank you for being here, and I will see you at the next. Bye.